Hello, people of the internet. Today I'm going to work on the engine for my 1994 Ford Ranger 4x4 restoration. If you are new and you'd like to get caught up above my head is a link to whether or not your turtle is dishwasher safe. Today's objective, to bring this one step closer to looking like a new engine. Before I do anything today, I need to take the oil out of this because I gotta take this filter and the filter housing off. The filter housing I think was painted Ford gray, but I'm gonna do things slightly different than factory because I think this nice and cleaned up and just its original finish will look a lot better. And drain. Fresh oil change. Some of you asked me in the last video why I would not just rebuild this engine while I have it out. And that's the same thing as why if you go to the dentist for teeth cleaning, why you wouldn't just do a root canal in every single one of your teeth since you're there anyway. This ground strap's pretty nasty. I might just end up having to replace this one. No point in trying to clean it up. Just rebuild a new one. Speaking of which, all the hardware and the brackets I took off the extra engine on the parts truck, they're all at powder coating and zinc right now. You can see right here, the bolts on this engine are all that black oxide finish, with the exception of some that are just painted the Ford gray color. So I went and got all the hardware coated in black oxide. So I think that'll look really good too with the color of this engine. So this bracket is completely boned. I don't know what the hell this thing is for. This thing right here is a needle scaler. I've never used one before. I borrowed it from Charlie. I'm gonna use this to try to clean the block up. It's a bunch of steel rods that just go in and out. I don't see how this is gonna work well, but he recommended it. Ouch! This is weird. This stuff is really flaky up here, so it's probably what this is designed for. Let's give it a shot. It seems kind of overkill, like over-engineered. I feel like where something like this would do really well is if you're trying to save that frame. The giant potato chip pieces of rust. I feel like it worked great on that. I'm half tempted to use the wire wheel for the rest of this, but this also leaves it a nice finish in contrast to a wire wheel, as a wire wheel leaves like giant scratch marks. This really doesn't unless I start going aggressively rubbing it back and forth. That's what he said. Underkill, overkill. I don't know if underkill is really a thing. I need something in between these two tools and it would be perfect because I love the finish this leaves, just doesn't do enough. This is effective, but just destroys everything in its process. The whole goal was to get the surface free of chunks and bits and nonsense and get it prepped and ready for paint to adhere to. And honestly, look at this. Those are all runs. They literally just hose these things down with paint at the factory. It does not look good, I would imagine, even brand new. There's overspray everywhere on stuff it's not supposed to and massive runs. No matter what, this is gonna be an improvement. I'm gonna try spraying some of this stuff on here and letting it sit overnight. I'm not saying what it is because it's stinky juice. Hello, it's the following morning. For those of you that are in places that are snowy and cold right now, this is for you. Needless to say, it is absolutely beautiful outside today. And it is like no wind, it's just like, it's perfect out there. See, this is why I live in Arizona. I need this thing prepped and ready to paint today. And this is not good enough yet. I can't just paint over exposed rust. Now that I got all the nonsense and chips sanded off this thing as best as possible, I'm gonna use some rust converter just for the remaining little bits of surface rust that's on here. Just brush this stuff on. I'll go over everything though. This has gotta sit for 48 hours before I can paint it, unfortunately. This stuff dries fast, at least to the touch. I just gotta wait 48 hours now before I can paint over it. Not taking anything else off though, because everything that's on there right now, as far as I'm concerned, is glorified masking tape. Because when I shoot the block, I don't want to have to tape anything off. Which means you're probably wondering about all the other stuff then that's on there. And I'm gonna use this. So let's make this stuff look new. Parts number 1, number 2. Oh jeez. I know I'm gonna get like 4 or 5 comments of what I should use to do this, and I appreciate suggestions, I really do. I know what I should use to do this, but I don't have the equipment to do this correctly. What I do have is a bunch of hazardous chemicals that I can concoct together and take a couple years off of my life by breathing them in. But I'll get stuff clean though. I don't think I'd want to use these injectors ever again. Ow, this stuff burns when it gets on your wrist. That's not a good sign. Proof! If you mix enough chemicals together, you can make anything clean. That looks pretty good. I ran it through the parts washer also. Well, that's not very effective. Can you see in there? I ran it through the parts washer over next door to clean out the insides too. So the insides are nice and clean, and then ran some brake clean through it too. I used like 6 different chemicals on this. But it's clean. Yeah? The power steering bracket, I'm not as proud of how this turned out. It's a little dingy inside the webbing, and I tried my best to scrub inside there as best as I could, but I mean, it was so coated in old power steering fluid that it was just impossible to clean, especially down inside there. I didn't have a brush deep enough to scrub inside there. I'm gonna give this thing another chance. Soda blaster. I'm gonna take this to the transmission. I'm gonna see what the soda blaster will do to the transmission and transfer case, because I really don't know what else to do. This thing is so heavily corroded. All these brackets and stuff I can take off and get these maybe sandblasted and powder coated. I don't know, I might have to go to the junkyard and see if I can find new brackets. The only other solution I have for the transmission and transfer case is to disassemble it all the way down and have the outer casings glass bead blasted, either crushed glass or glass bead at the powder coating place, if they'll do it for me, because they don't really use glass bead, I don't think. So here goes nothing. I got it as far away from the building as possible so I don't make too much of a mess. It actually worked pretty good. For what it is, it definitely knocked all that corrosion off. It doesn't look brand new, but that was after like maybe 20 seconds with the soda blaster. That's not bad. Yeah. Alright. I can't get my cameras too close to this because this powder is so fine I don't want to take a chance with ruining it. So you're going to have to see a faraway time lapse. I tried using a different type of soda material, and I think it might be a little too coarse because it clogged the straw. Or I just got a piece of junk in there and I gotta clean it out. So I gotta try to fix that. I didn't really think the soda blaster was gonna work for this, but honestly, I mean, you can see some areas right here where there's still a little bit of corrosion that's stuck on the casing. I just need to hit those areas up a little bit harder, but it's taking all this nonsense off. Look at that. I mean, it's really on there, so that's good. I gotta fix the soda blaster so I can do the rest of it. I think maybe just cleaning it up after I'm done. I ran out of daylight anyway, so I'm gonna see if I can get this fuel rail and stuff clean though. Holy shit, these things are stuck in there. Now I got this thing in 2 halves. I can let the lower half soak overnight in the parts washer. These injectors are probably no good anymore. I don't want to reuse these. This is really not bad. Actually, this probably doesn't even need to soak. This I can just wipe down. This looks nice. This needs to soak overnight. Will it submerge? It will submerge. How about that? I get to do one of my favorite things in the world to do now when it comes to painting anything. Ta-da! That has to be one of the most oddly satisfying things to do and watch. It's kind of like those things that mush the Play-Doh around in a big circle and it like rakes it. It's supposed to be soothing. I don't know. I saw an ad, pop-up ad for that. I want to do every single machine surface that a bolt goes into like this. That's excessive. There was paint on there, just in case you were wondering. They didn't do that at the factory. I'm going a little above and beyond, just a little bit. It's these little details though that make it worth it. This is OEM Plus, not replica of OEM. Oh no. Ah, there you go. It's all masked off and ready to paint. That was so satisfying to do. I'm not masking off the oil pan because that is getting replaced. I ordered a brand new OEM Ford oil pan for this thing. Valve covers, once this is painted, these come off and these get painted separately. All of this on the front half of the engine, the timing chain cover and the water pump housing and all this accoutrements associated with, all that is getting replaced with OE Motorcraft parts. And this guy is coming off because the other one is soaking in the parts washer. I know this video was a ton of prep work, but the prep work is important. This is all important. It may not be entertaining, it's kind of boring. I did my best to try to make this entertaining. Tapping it is entertaining, that's what he said. But I'm trying to make this turn out as best as possible within reason because I'm making do with the resources and the equipment and the tools and materials I have at hand. I'm just trying to make this engine look good when it's mounted in the new frame because it ran great, didn't burn oil, had 0 issues whatsoever. So there's no point in tearing that thing down and doing a complete rebuild on it. Just like there's no point in drilling all my teeth and putting root canals in them all just because I have them. And what if they one day decide to hurt? Fred is gonna get this thing into paint, I believe, next week. So you'll see some content coming on the Guys Next Door's channel on finishing up the color match portion and then re-clearing the bed sides. And after that, the bed is gonna permanently live down here on the new frame, which means the next thing I do is get the engine bay prepped because I gotta repaint the engine bay and swap out the core support from the other truck because this one's got some rust down where it mounts the frame. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you soon with another. Bye!